Did you hear what I was playing, Lane?
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. But I play with wonderful expression. As far as piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep the science for life.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of the science of life, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Yes, sir.
Oh, and by the way, Lane, I couldn't help notice from reading your book that on Thursday night, when Lord Chapman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne were entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment the servants invariably consume the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens! Is marriage so demoralizing as that?
It is a very pleasant state, I believe, sir. I don't have much experience of it myself up till the present. I've only been married once, and that was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir. It's not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Quite natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem rather lax. Really, if the lower orders don't provide us with a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They seem, as a class, to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
Well, when one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
And who are the people, people you amuse?
Neighbours, neighbours.
Got nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire? Yes. Why all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
Merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
Perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well. But I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
And may I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly disgraceful. Almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
Fellow, I am in love with Gwendolen. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
Well, I thought you'd come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I don't see anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there is nothing romantic in a definite proposal. One may be accepted, I believe one usually is, but then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If I ever get married, I'll certainly try and forget the fact.
I have no doubt of that, my dear Algy. The divorce court was specially invented for those whose memories are so curiously constituted.
There is no use speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They are ordered especially for Aunt Augusta.
You have been eating them all this time.
That is quite a different matter. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good bread and butter it is too.
My dear fellow, you need not eat it as if you were going to eat it all. Behave as if you are married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
That is not.
It isn't. It is a great truth. One that accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. And in the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolen is my first cousin. Before I allow you to marry her, you need to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What do you mean? What do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name Cecily.
Fetch me the cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say that you've had that for all this time? Well, I wish to goodness you had let me know. I've been writing letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would offer one. It happened to be more than usually hard up. I think it is rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter. Now as I read the inscription inside, I see that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it is mine. You have seen me with it 100 times. And there's no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It's the most ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case was a present from someone of the name of Cecily, and you said you didn't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me,
Yes,
Algy.
but why does she call herself Little Cecily if she's your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not so tall. I really think that is the sort of thing that an aunt ought to be allowed to decide for herself. Besides, just give it back.
Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dearest Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt. But why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle? I can't quite make it out. And besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest, it's Jack.
Well, you have always told me it was Ernest. I introduce you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. You're the most earnest-looking person I ever saw in my whole life. Your saying your name isn't Ernest is absurd. It's on your card. Here is one of them. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I shall keep this as proof that your name is Ernest in case you ever try to deny it to me, to Gwendolen, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case happens to be given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for why your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her uncle. Come on, old boy, you better have the thing out at once.
My dear fellow, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist.
I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret bumberist, and I'm quite sure of it now.
Bumberist? What on earth do you mean by bumberist?
I shall reveal to you the meaning of that English-powered expression as soon as you are kind enough to reveal to me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now, produce your explanation. Pray, make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing in the least improbable about my explanation. In fact, it is perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me guardian in his will to Miss Cecily Cardew, his granddaughter. Cecily, who addresses me as uncle, out of motives of respect, which you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country, under the care of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, my dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly, the place is not in Shropshire.
Well, I suspected that, my dear fellow. I have bummed all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now, go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear Algy, I don't know whether you'll be able to understand my real motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a high moral tone on all subjects. It is one's duty. Now, as a high moral tone can scarcely be said to conduce much either to one's health or to one's happiness, in order to get up to town, I've always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest, who lives at the Albany and who gets into the most fearful scrapes. So, there you have it, my dear Algy, the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. What you are is a bumberist. I was quite right in describing you as a bumberist. You're one of the most advanced bumberists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have created a very useful younger brother called Ernest, in order that you may be able to travel up to the town as often as you like. I have created a permanent invalid called Bunbury, in order that I may be able to travel down to the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary ill health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight. I've already been engaged to dine with Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
Yeah, I haven't asked you to dine anywhere with me tonight.
I know. You are absurdly careless about sending out invitations. Very foolish of you. There's nothing that annoys me as much as not receiving invitations.
You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the slightest intention of doing anything of the kind. In the first place, I dine there on Monday. And once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I do dine there, I'm always treated as a member of the family, sent down with either no women at all or two. And in the third place, I know exactly whom she'll place me next to tonight. She'll place me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not pleasant. Indeed, it's not even decent. That sort of thing is enormously on the increase. The amount of women who flirt with their own husbands in London these days is perfectly disgraceful. He looks so bad. He's simply washing one's clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunbury. I want to tell you the rules.
I am not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolen accepts me, I am going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I shall kill him in any case. Cecily is getting a little too much interested in him. It is rather a bore. So, I am going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with with your invalid friend who has the absurd name.
Nothing will ever induce me to part with Bunbury. If you ever get married, which seems to me extremely problematic, you'll be very glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolen, and I never saw anyone in the world that I would marry other than her, then I certainly won't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. My dear fellow, you don't seem to realize that in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none. That would be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I can get her out of the way for 10 minutes, so you would have the opportunity for proposing to Gwendolen, will you dine with me at Willis's tonight?
Yes, I suppose so, if you want to.
But you must be serious about it. I hate people who aren't serious about meals. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I am always smart. Am I not, Mr. Worthing?
You are quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I am not that. That would leave no room for developments. And I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we're a little late, Algernon. I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I will have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Gwendolen, won't you come and sit here?
Thanks, Mamma. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens! Lane, where are all the cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers at the market today, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers?
No, sir. Even with ready money.
That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I have crumpets with dear Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now. Thank you. I have quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch.
I'm afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I hope not, Algernon. You will put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
It is a great bore. I need hardly say a terrible disappointment to me